All right. It's time for our Southern California guy to get the lowdown on kind of the mix between Southern California and Bellevue, Kentucky. That'd be Tracy Jones. I thought you told us 2 days ago that there was a good chance you would have a suit and tie on today. Did I misunderstand you?
Well, not a suit. I said a shirt and tie, and actually my hair done nicely. But the meeting got canceled. Well, let me tell you something. I don't trust a man who wears a tie. I just never have. A shirt and tie and a suit, I'm telling you, I don't trust those guys. They're always looking to sell you something. You ever notice that, Tommy?
No, I haven't noticed that. I think you have different people in different professions that feel like that they have to wear a coat and tie, and they're not trying to sell me anything. There are some of those guys out there.
Yeah, I actually had a client that we had a meeting. I says, listen, I got to go home and change and get respectable. I was dressed like this. And he says, if you do that, I'll take my money away from you. I trust you the way you are. So just a different philosophy. And plus in the Midwest, they're very conservative the way they dress. You have to admit that, Tom. You're more of a Pacific Palisades guy. You don't really fit here. I think of you as a Palos Verdes, Pacific Palisades, maybe Encino type of guy. Am I right?
I don't know anything about Encino.
I was running out of cities.
I got to tell you, though, Palos Verdes, man, I mean, you're talking my kind of lingo now. I mean, that's a big league place.
How nice is that? You know who lived up there, and I would see him all the time, is the skipper from Gilligan's Island. Skipper lived up there. Mario Andretti lived up there. A lot of celebrities.
Well, I mean, that is a nice place. You know, now Pacific Palisades, you know, you're starting to get into that whole sort of got to show off what I got scene. You know what I mean? In Palos Verdes, it's even though it's so picturesque right there on the coast,
yes,
the cliffs and everything, but it's not show off money. I don't think anyway in Palos Verdes. You agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's pretty conservative. The homes are not real fancy. Well,
right,
they're fancy.
Right,
they're expensive,
right. Yep.
But they're not like you would think. And probably it's a very high-end class. I mean, you're up there. Probably the average home in Palos Verdes, I would say maybe 5-6 million.
Oh, boy.
I would say it's that high. I'll tell you another place, and I see you living there with Polly, is Manhattan Beach. You seem like a Manhattan Beach guy.
I can see myself living there without Polly.
So good.
It's really not
you are
good.
So good.
That was
so can I without today. I'm all over.
Yeah. No, you know, back in the old days, I've told this story. Back when I got the Cubs job in 1990, I was 25, 26, whatever it was. And that was right when Piazza and Karros were coming up with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting to know those guys a little bit. And they were living down there in Manhattan Beach.
Yeah,
they were single, right?
Yes.
And they were living together. They were roommates. They had both just been called up to the big leagues. And, you know, I mean, big stars already right out of the gate. And I'd go down there every now and again when we go in to play the Dodgers and meet them out for a beer or two. I mean, I could see how somebody would like kind of hanging out there a little bit.
I don't think it gets any better than Manhattan Beach. Can you imagine 2 L.A. Dodgers, 2 good-looking guys down in Manhattan Beach, the beach area, Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach? Can you imagine the wool those guys were pulling? I mean, it would just be out of control. That's big league life right there, Tom. And what's nice about talking to you, you're such a big leaguer anyway, that you've been to all these places. I throw you curveballs. Like your dad wouldn't know what the hell, you know, Manhattan Beach is. He knows like Inglewood or Hawthorne. That's what he knows.
But last thing on this California, because I have to tell you, the one area I have not spent time in, and I've been all over California. I've been to some of the most remote places you could ever go in your life. Hippie towns along the coast, hung out, a couple days here, a couple days there, Northern California, whole 9 yards, right? But the one area that I have not spent any time in whatsoever is Newport Beach. Now people tell me that, you can sing the praises from now until the end of time about Manhattan Beach and Hermosa Beach and all these other places, even Hollywood and wherever you want, right? Palisades, Santa Barbara. But I hear there's nowhere like Newport Beach, California. True or false?
I almost bought a condo in Newport Beach a couple years ago. It was right on the dock, where you could put your boat. You had boat slip right there. It had a pool. You overlooked like an intercoastal, and then in back of you, you could walk to your own like private beach. It's very, very nice. Captain Jack's. Have you ever been to that restaurant? That's one of your dad's favorite restaurants. The best crab legs and lobster tails anywhere. Captain Jack's. It's right there in Newport Beach. But you're exactly right. Seal Beach, San Juan Capistrano. It's really nice as you go down south. There's some great places in California. The problem is, Thom, you have to have FU money to live there. If you have FU money, then you're fine. Like my mother-in-law who drives that Porsche, right?
Well, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, if you're really, the smart play is to start dating your mother-in-law. I mean, not you, obviously, but I'm saying if you're a guy out there, right? Because she's attractive. She's got a lot of cash. She likes living and getting out and going to dinner and movies and stuff like that, right?
She would be a really good catch. She's only 8 years older than me, and Danae's 8 years younger than me. I mean, I'm kind of in the middle of the road. I could go either way, which is really pretty disgusting now that I think about that. And I said that.
It really is. It really is. Yeah. All right, listen, we were talking before we get to the Reds. I don't know if you heard any of the talk when my dad was on here about you're a money guy.
Yeah.
And I'm being very serious when I say this. And, Elliot made the point, and you're just getting to know Elliot a little bit. Mm-hmm. And he said he doesn't think there's, this isn't a moral question. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer here. But the young man who caught the home run by Ellie De La Cruz last night, okay?
Okay. That's
him with all his buddies. He's a high school. That's him, Alex French. He's a high school kid, goes to Moeller High School, good athlete. I mean, tell by looking at him. Football player, whole 9 yards, right? Okay. He got the ball last night, and as they normally do, whatever team, ballpark, security brings him down underneath where the clubhouse is, and they say to him, hey, look, if you'll give this ball to Ellie De La Cruz in this case, he's going to come down here, take pictures with you, give you a bat, give you a couple batting gloves, and give you a couple autographs. Okay, great. That's really, really nice. But we were sitting here having the debate. That ball has already been valued at $10,000. $10,000 already. Okay? And I was making the argument that there is no way for a picture and for a bat and an autograph and a couple of batting gloves that I'm giving up something that really doesn't belong to Ellie De La Cruz. He hit the ball, but he doesn't own the ball. He never owned the ball. He didn't own it the second it was shipped into Great American Ballpark. He didn't own it when it left Noah Syndergaard's right hand. He didn't own it when he hit it with his bat. And he didn't own it when it ended up in the stands out in right field. He bent over and picked it up. This kid.
Yeah.
What would you have done?
Well, the value, it's funny you said $10,000. That's the bottom price for me. I would give up that ball for $25,000, and I'll tell you why, Thom. That De La Cruz is going to be a Hall of Famer. That ball could be worth some money. I mean, that's his first major league home run. And to get a bat signed and take a picture, who in the rat's ass gives a damn about that stuff? I want some cabbage. I want some money. I want some jack. I don't care. And I'd be. What did your dad say? I'd be very curious. I know you're about the money too, Thom. How much would you give that ball up for?
I want you to hear what your good friend and mine, Paul Fritzner, had to say about this. Paul, please share. Say good morning to Mr. Jones.
Hey Tracy, how are you?
How you doing, Paul? How you doing, Reed?
So I was sitting there. I was sitting there last night, and I was thinking to myself, what would actually matter in my life right now that I could get out of this that would be reasonable but not over the top? I think asking the Reds to fund my wedding at Great American Ballpark would be a reasonable ask. Up in the club level to make it into a wedding venue, not to actually have the ceremony there, but hey, look, I'm struggling right now to find a wedding venue that we can afford. Let's have it there at Great American Ballpark.
I like that idea a lot. I think for you, Paul, that would be very reasonable. There's some nice places throughout that ballpark and save you. Boy, that probably cost you $20,000 to rent one of those places, I would think. So that's a great idea. Just kind of going back to that ball, what I would give it up for, the money, I wouldn't give it up. I'd keep it. Because you know how those things increase in price.
I mean, look, Elliot was pointing out today. Elliot, would you say that ball, the Aaron Judge ball, what's it worth?
It went for $1.5 million. $1.5 million in auction.
Okay.
His first home run?
No. The ball he hit last year to break Roger Maris' single season. Okay, so $1.5 million. Tracy, we're talking about in less than 6 months after he hit it. Okay, that's a value. What would the value of that ball be in 6 years from now, in 15 years from now, if that's still the record? If what you say about De La Cruz, and this is the argument I made, I mean, I get being a quote-unquote good guy and making sure that De La Cruz gets a ball. But I made reference, Tracy, a little while ago. Johnny Bench just sold a ton of his memorabilia because, I mean, what's he going to do with, 8 gold, 15 gold gloves sitting around his house, right? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar just sold his championship rings and his MVP trophies. What's he going to do with that? He sold it for the cash. There's a very strong chance one day, young Mr. French, as I brought up earlier, is going to read that Ellie De La Cruz sold that ball for $2.5 million one day, and then what's he doing? He's trying to pay his mortgage every month as a 40-year-old.
I mean, you make a great point. What was interesting about Johnny Bench, he puts his stuff up for auction, and his buddy bought all the stuff and then gave the memorabilia back to Johnny, which I thought was pretty cool. Now, what I would have done if I was Johnny, I'd put it back up for sale, and then I'd be double dipping. See, always thinking about making more money, right? But I would not. I would hold on to that ball. I would not sell it, and I'd be done with it. And the hell with the good guy. Good guys finish last. You guys might want to write that down. I don't know if you've ever heard that before. But I would not give it up. I wouldn't. But boy, is he a good player.
All right, well, that's what I want to get to now. Look, we have been talking about, let me go back a minute because, I asked my dad this, and he's been around longer than you have. He's a lot older than you are. But you were around, and you used to hit, I don't know if I've ever brought this up or not, back when O'Neill and Larkin and Davis and all those guys, you were in the lineup with all those guys in the minor leagues on the same team. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you used to hit third in the lineup on those teams. Is that right?
I've never heard you say that, Thom, and I appreciate you saying it. I think we've almost been doing the show for 10, 11 months, and I think that's the 25th time you've mentioned it, but keep mentioning it because it helps my credibility. It really does. I appreciate it, buddy.
All right, but look, you played with, what I'm getting at is you were playing with Eric Davis. You saw the tools. You saw, everything about him, right? You saw Larkin. Davis wasn't a big high-round draft choice. Larkin was a first-round pick out of Michigan.
Right.
Okay, so, and then you've been here in town for debuts like Homer Bailey, Aroldis Chapman, Jay Bruce, whatever it might be. But even with other teams when you were coming up through the minor leagues, have you ever seen the hype around a player coming to the big leagues like we've seen the last 48 hours with De La Cruz?
It's legit hype. I told you guys I would watch videos of this guy, and I'm going, whoa. When I first started watching videos, I said, well, how good can he be? So then I'm watching, and I'm going, boy, he's got a great arm. Boy, he can really run. Oh, he's a switch hitter. Oh, there's a pitch right in his eyes, hammers it, right? Because left-handed, usually they're low ball hitters. No, this guy hit a ball right up in his eyes. Oh, then he can golf a home run, Oppo Taco. I mean, he just has so much talent, and you really get a chance to watch it. His speed is incredible. The only thing that I don't like about De La Cruz is I really don't like that Mr. T starter kit chains. He's got way too many chains, and I worry about him sliding head first, poking himself in the eyeball. I worry about that. I mean, you don't need that many chains, do you, Thom?
No, you don't need them. But you know what?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what all the young people like now. So, I'm all about making the young people happy, Tracy, just like you are. You're all about that. Whatever you want to do, it's all good.
Hey, let me throw something at you here that happened in the game yesterday or last night.
Okay.
Benson's walk-off home run. Any thoughts? Have you guys talked about that? How he stared, did the bat flip, yelling, screaming? I will tell you this, and I understand that, people like to celebrate and show emotion, which is fine. But in my day, the next day, this day ball game they're about to play, he would have got one right in the back if he's in that lineup.
There's no question. There's no
you
doubt
agree with
about
that, right?
Yeah, well, I know that. It's not a matter of agreeing with it. You are
right.
spot on 1,000%. But again, this is kind of it's a very different age. And people, handle. I just saw it for Benson, Tracy, and look, anybody who's ever played baseball, they've had a terrible stretch, like this young man had when he came to the big leagues this year. I mean, he was a former number 1 pick. You read the stories. He actually thought about quitting. Called his mom and dad. They talked him into giving it one more try. He starts this season. He can't do anything. He's striking out all the time. They send him back to the minors. They bring him back up. I think that was just so much pent-up frustration being released at one moment in time that might end up being the greatest moment of his major league career, for all we know.
It might. After he hit that home run, I actually dug into his stats, and I'm thinking, wow, okay, I know he's a first-round draft pick, but that guy's done absolutely nothing. He didn't do anything in the minor leagues. He didn't do anything in the big leagues. And I'm just saying, can you imagine him doing that walk-off home run, flipping the bat, yelling, screaming, off, let's say he hit off Steve Carlton. How about Mario Soto? What do you think Randy Johnson would do? How about Roger Clemens? How about Bob Gibson? I mean, it just goes on and on. Juan Marichal, Don Drysdale. But, nowadays the players kind of let it slip. Just turn the other cheek. But I did see some of those Dodger infielders when he was running around the bases. They kind of gave him a little bit of a stare down a little bit. I don't think they like it.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, even though we just said a second ago that kind of thing is kind of that people look the other way, Kershaw came up when he first came up where they still weren't looking the other way. And Kershaw's never been what people would call, kind of that edge to him. I mean, Hall of Fame pitcher, no doubt about it, but that sort of edge of Ryan or Johnson or somebody, Clemens, like you're talking about. But look, this guy's a big-time competitor, and he is a big-time team guy. I would not be surprised to see somebody take one in the ribs today for the Reds. I'm not saying I hope it's going to happen by any means, but I would not be surprised with Kershaw on the mound. If you had a 24, 26, 27-year-old out there today, nothing.
Yeah.
But this guy, I wouldn't put it past him.
Well, I don't think there's anything better in baseball than an all-out brawl. I mean, I can still remember the first time I saw the Angels going at it with the Oakland A's when Kim Brett hit somebody in the mound. They charged. I think it wasn't Reggie Jackson. It was Bill North. Remember Billy North?
Remember him well. Yeah, guy could run, man.
I thought it was so exciting. Something else, Thom? What's really different about baseball nowadays, and your dad and I were talking about it on Jones and Brennaman on baseball, is the personalities of baseball players nowadays. They don't have personalities. Think about it. Think about a guy like Mike Trout. Do you know anything about him? I mean, he's kind of just a great player. But, go back to when I played. Some of the guys, a Dave Parker. I wrote some names down. Nolan Ryan. I'm watching a video, head-to-head, Nolan Ryan against Jose Canseco. Talk about some energy and some personalities there. Willie McCovey. Do you remember how Willie McCovey was? A lot of show. The Dodgers roll into town. You know, you got the Penguin. You got how Steve Garvey walks all. They just had personalities, and you knew the players. Nowadays, I don't know the players. They're all kind of recluses. They're kind of like Howard Hughes, a bunch of Howard Hughes recluse.
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that because, you know, a lot of people have been critical about Mike Trout. I mean, everybody loves a guy, Jersey guy, kind of tells it like it is, whole 9 yards, you know. But Major League Baseball went to him about 2 years ago, and they said, hey, we want to do all this marketing stuff with you because, you know, you are the face of Major League Baseball. And Trout says, nah, I'm not interested. Don't want to do it. Don't want to do whatever I got to do to be that guy. Now, that's his prerogative, and I'll never blame a guy for that. If it's something that they don't want to take the time out of their lives to go do, you know, God bless them. But somebody made the point, and I can't remember where it was, but somebody made the point that here you have a sport in baseball where you can actually see the players' faces.
Right.
And in football, you have guys wearing helmets and face masks, right? I mean, you don't see anything about it. You might see their eyes on some super close-up shot on Fox or something or whatever it might be, but you don't really see their faces, right? And that somebody was talking about when the Angels came to town a couple of years ago that Mike Trout could walk right down Vine Street in the middle of lunch hour, right? From 3rd Street all the way through over the Rhine, and you might not find 4 people that have any idea who he is.
You know, baseball players' personalities are a little different, and especially nowadays. I think they're scared of the media, scared of being out there. I mean, they're going to have a long career. You know, in football, you got to kind of make a splash because it's like 3 years and you're out. But baseball players are kind of nonchalant. They don't like all the notoriety, I don't think. But, you know, can you imagine Dave Parker walking down the street? You know, if you saw Eric Davis back in his playing days, the way he dressed, really flamboyant, you would know, you know, that's a Major League Baseball player. That's Eric Davis. I just wish ball players showed more of a personality. They're just so low-key now. They're not out in public. You know, Thom, back when I was, and this is going to surprise a lot of people watching, as soon as that game was over, I was running the streets. I was probably going to have 5 or 6 drinks, and then it was on to the strip bar. That's what we did. We'd get 5 or 6 guys. Hey, Thom, you know I'm telling the truth. 5 or 6 guys. And
I've been there.
Yeah, you've been there. But we would go out together and have a good time. Those guys, they just do their stuff alone. They're kind of loners. I asked Jay Bruce one time in an interview I had on WLW, and being the kind of, I don't know, a little edgy, I asked Jay where he went as far as strip bars in Atlanta. Oh, they didn't like that. It was like, I'll occasionally go down and have 1 drink at the bar and then go back to my room. And I say it tongue in cheek, but players just don't go out. They can't. You get those cell phones, you get in a lot of trouble.
And you got social media now where a guy, I mean, really, you know, it's like football players can't. I'm not saying they can't during the week. A lot of them will go out and do something on a Sunday night when they fly back into their towns, but they're in their city and whatever it might be. And generally, it's pretty confined group, is my understanding. But a baseball player, you know, look, if you know, pick a quote unquote quiet town, say Milwaukee, right? If you're there on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, I think Milwaukee's one of the best towns in the country to go out and just have a few beers and people are not going to bother you. But all it takes is one, right? It takes one guy to try to stir up something, you know, say a few things to you, get you on video sitting there, you know, mouthing off back to them. And the next thing you know, you look like a clown, right? And all you went to do was have a beer or two with your buddies. It's really a shame because it used to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's just players. I mean, sometimes we would go with 5 or 6 guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think they do that at all. And I think players don't live on the edge like we used to live on the edge. We were pretty right. I mean, look at the Mets. Look at those players. They were on the edge. Good players too, but they went out and had a good time. And I think, you know, the 1990 team, excuse me, you know, they had some guys, you know, Dibble and Charlton, were a lot of fun. So, yeah, it's just something that I read about, and they do with basketball players. And this might be a good topic because I don't know. Get one of the nerdy ham and eggers to dig this stuff up. You're too busy, Thom. But these non-disclosure agreements, like if you meet up with a baseball Annie, that's not a slump buster, does she have to sign a non-disclosure agreement? I mean, I read something where the basketball players do that. So if you hook up with them, you can't say anything about what you did. Are you familiar with this?
I'm not. It's the first time I've ever heard of it.
Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, though, right?
Well, I mean,
if I go work, wait a minute. If I go work for Oprah, I got to sign a non-disclosure agreement. If I go work for Tom Cruise, you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement. You can't just walk into the place. The maids all sign that kind of stuff because you see a lot. Yeah.
See, that's the kind of thing that you're in tune with, being with that sort of Hollywood-esque sort of crowd.
I know those people.
You would know them. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you grew up with a lot of those people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm from Hawthorne, home of the Beach Boys and just so many celebrities.
And Tracy Jones.
Did I mention Tracy Jones from Hawthorne? Don't forget about Gary Coleman. Corrupt, the rappers from Hawthorne.
Who?
Corrupt.
Do you guys know who Corrupt is?
Yeah.
Paul?
No.
Do you guys know who Corrupt is?
Unfamiliar.
Not a clue.
So, I was just talking about how Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style just came back on Spotify, and Corrupt is featured quite prevalently on Doggy Style by Snoop Dogg.
That a boy, Reed. I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you, Reed. Those
Proud
other
of you,
nerdy
Tracy.
dorks, they have no clue on anything. Snoop Dogg's from Long Beach.
Yeah. Yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
They don't make good ball players in Long Beach, not like they do in Hawthorne.
Well, I don't know. Long Beach State had Longoria and Tilowinski one year, and then I think they had another shortstop, third base combination in the big leagues with the Oakland A's.
But they weren't from Long Beach. Those guys were probably from Hawthorne. They probably came over from Hawthorne.
And if you're wondering, Corrupt is spelled with a K.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Westbrook, the basketball player, he's from Hawthorne. Marilyn Monroe lived in Hawthorne. Tracy Lords lived in Hawthorne. Oh, you guys don't know who Tracy Lords is. Oh, look at Thom. See, Thom, you are really up there. You really are one of those guys, you dress, but you live on the edge. You know a lot of stuff. You are very well-rounded. You are a Renaissance man, Thom Brennaman. You know a lot about a lot of stuff. That dark side of Thom Brennaman.
Yeah, I'm trying to, shine light into that dark side of Thom Brennaman.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
And you're doing a good job.
I'm
I
trying
know
to
what
shine. The good Lord willing. All right, Tracer, have a good weekend, my man. Great being with you as always. Have a good rest of your day.
All right. Boys, I'll see you on Tuesday.